Sixers. 10, 9, 8, 76ers.
What's going on, everyone? This is UK 76ers. My name is Ben Glasspool, and last night the Philadelphia 76ers lost in Portland to the Trailblazers by 114 points to 118. Now, as many of you will know, our starting five was at full strength, so this was the first time that this starting five had lost this season. And to be honest, look, we can't win every game. Not even with this starting five, who have been fantastic for us. We can't win every game, and eventually this run was going to come to an end. And look, I'm disappointed. I thought it was a fantastic game of basketball, but I was disappointed nonetheless because obviously the Sixers lost. But if there was a way to lose it, if you're going to lose it by, Ben Simmons putting up 23, 11 and 9, by Embiid putting up 35 and 9, by keeping Damian Lillard to only 11 points after the first quarter, to literally losing because Carmelo Anthony decided to roll back the years pretending as if he was back on the Nuggets and get 17 points in that fourth quarter, and we ended up getting outscored in that fourth by 8 points, 29-21. This game, look, there are various different reasons why we lost this game. Some issues have been the same issues that have been prevalent in previous games, and they do need addressing. But this wasn't a bad performance by any means. In fact, it was on a knife edge until the last play we did wasn't a good one. It wasn't, Covington, of all people, managed to get, a hand in there and blocking Harris from receiving the ball, and then we couldn't get any sort of shot away. We were 2 points down at the time, we needed a 3 to win, or, just a regular bucket to tie, and we didn't get a shot away, which was hugely disappointing. Because you always want to at least get a shot up to know that you've done all you could, and sometimes it just doesn't go your way. But unfortunately we didn't do that. But there's still a lot of positive. We didn't play badly, and like I said, if there was a way in which you wanted this run to come to an end, it would be in a game like this where we weren't shooting too brilliantly from three. We're 22% from three. The Trailblazers were 45% from three. 17 out of 38. We only had 6 out of 27, and we still kept it to 4 points. There's stuff to be worked on for sure, but I don't think we can be too aggrieved, and I'll just dissect into it a bit further. But before we get started on that, usual shout-outs: USA Sports merch, NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA, all the merch they've got it. Every team within those leagues, they've got it. Go check them out. The more you guys check those out, if you do decide to buy from it, helps myself out a lot as well as these guys at USA Sports merch, a UK-based retailer, so helps both of us out. So please go check those guys out. They're really good guys with really good stuff, which you struggle to find anywhere else, especially with the service they're given as well. Similarly, Visible, once again, providing me with some awesome stats. Just check their site out. I keep saying it, but their site is so easy to navigate. It's just so interesting. You end up going down a rabbit hole, and before you spend 2 to 3 hours on this looking at the most crazy stats, but they're all so interesting. Go check those guys out. Both the descriptions for both those people will be in the link below. But let's talk about this game. As I said, I'm normally sometimes find myself as a prisoner of the moment whenever we lose, and I get angry and I said this needs to happen, that needs to happen, he needs to be traded, they need to move on, etc, etc. But I left this one thinking that's just the way it goes. We knew this trip out west was going to be a tough one, and inevitably losses were going to come, and this is just like one of those days. And I think it was, it's a shame that Ben Simmons, for me, had one of his best games I've seen him playing a Sixer uniform in a loss. He was fantastic on both ends. He took it to them. He got aggressive. He finished with both hands. In his post moves looked excellent. He's really refined. The way he maneuvers himself around the post, the way he contorts his body. That hook shot seems to be something with both hands that is almost a reliable go-to option now for us. And on the defensive side of things, you saw some of that late game defense he had on Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard, of all people, he is not easy to shut down. Look, he got 30 points. But when Ben Simmons was on him, he was not enjoying himself at all. He had a bit of early joy in that first quarter where he dropped 19. A few early threes. Portland were electric from the three-point line. But when all things settled, as we saw against the Kings, you can go on this hot streak but it doesn't maintain itself all the time, and it didn't. And Lillard dropped off, and that was partly due to Ben Simmons just being Ben Simmons. He's just elite at what he does. And the thing that's so unique about Ben Simmons is he's got 3 aspects to a defensive game. He's got height, he's got speed, and he's got strength. Now, there are guards like De'Aaron Fox who can be faster than him, but they're not stronger or they're not taller than him. So that's out the question. And then there are people like Damian Lillard who might be stronger than him, but they're not taller than him, and they're not quicker than him. So you might have one of those 3 qualities you might be better at Simmons at, but you're not going to outdo him on the other two, and that always gives him an immediate advantage. I can't think of a guy off the top of my head that is stronger than him, that's taller than him, and that's quicker than him all at the same time, or even two of those aspects. It is frightening to try and defend, well, try and get any sort of offense against him when he's playing like this. And it sounds as if we won the game. We didn't. We lost the game because essentially Carmelo Anthony was fantastic, and it is cool to see Melo do those sort of things because, you know, we all like Melo. We all want him to do well, and it was really nice when he came back into the league. Admittedly, I'd rather he do it against some other team because he always seems to go off against us, but yeah, he just had one of those hot streaks which we couldn't handle, and that was really what won them the game. I think if Melo doesn't do that, we win this, and it would have been a great win because they're a decent team, Portland. They got a really nice deep team that they got options everywhere, you know, be that Gary Trent, who I really like Gary Trent. I'd love nothing more than to have him on the Philadelphia 76ers. I think it'd be such a good acquisition, but there's no real way in which we can do that. They got guys like Rodney Hood, who's solid. Anthony Simons always seems to be pretty solid. I think he got about 11 points again. We know about Nurkic and Collins, but they couldn't play, of course, but you know, they got a decent team, and of course CJ as well. But yeah, it just wasn't to be. It just wasn't to be. But we can't be too disheartened. There are a few things that I do want to take away from this game, which I hope we can improve on. And the first thing that I'll talk about is offensive rebounding. Now, they've got a serial offensive rebounder in Enes Kanter, so perhaps that issue was a far more prevalent tonight because Kanter punishes teams on the glass, and we know about his defensive shortcomings, but he's one of the best rebounders in the league on the offensive boards as well. And I don't think we paid him enough respect. We didn't box him out well enough. Too many second chance points is becoming Portland's way. And, you know, they add up and they really frustrate you because you have a good defensive play, but if you don't get that board, then it's back to square one. You go again. You get another chance to reset. They get another chance to reset and another chance to score points on you after you've just done excellently well to stop them doing so in the first place. So they're hugely frustrating. Perhaps we could just chalk this down to Enes Kanter's very good at what he does, which he is. But I would also like to think that Embiid could, you know, stop him a bit better, box him out. Howard, similarly. These are guys that can rebound. Obviously not to the same level as Kanter, but at least at the same, you know, they can match the guy at the very least. So that was a real annoyance. 3-point shooting. This game sort of exemplified the importance of it. Look, we only lost by 4 points, but could you imagine if we just had a bit of a better clip from the 3-point line? We were 22%, 6 out of 27. I want to say that was majority of those were Seth Curry, and then I forgot who the other couple of people were that drained one. I want to say it was Danny Green got one as well. But the thing about this team is that we don't get enough three. We don't give enough looks for three. Our best people that take the most shots is Harris, Embiid, and Simmons. Harris shoots a couple threes, so he's doing pretty well at these from 3-point line. He's on 42% or so this season, but they're all partly because Ben Simmons is so good at giving him the space. Then you come to Embiid, who only shoot 1 or 2 a game, and understandably so, and Simmons, we know about Simmons. So then you come to someone like Curry and Green. Green is an all or nothing 3-point shooter. On any given day, he'll either give you 5 for 9 or 0 for 9. There is no in between. He is reliable but also unreliable from the 3-point line, if that makes sense. But I think you guys, you Sixers fans who watch him regularly will know exactly what I mean by that. Seth Curry, we know how good he is. He's looking back to his best, and I can't complain one bit. But it's really ugly heck, and unfortunately in this NBA, you've got to be able to shoot the 3 well enough. Look, we've been doing fantastically well, and we are one of the lowest teams with the lowest amounts of 3-point shots and 3-point makes in the league. So it shows the fact that we're top of the East, so with that stat shows that perhaps you can succeed. But it would make our game a hell of a lot easier if we just get those shooters in. And as it always happens in any loss, when emotions are running high, people want to get these trades in and they want to lament the players, i.e. Danny Green, because often is, and you guys will know that I've often been supportive of Danny Green, and I've liked what he's brought to this team, and I like him on this team. But the thing is, his contract is just so good to trade. I think if in another instance, if Danny Green was on this team for $2 million, $3 million a year, and he was coming off the bench, that's a really great player to have. But the fact of the matter is, he's on $15 million a year. He's got a very nice salary to trade. Package it up with maybe a young guy or a couple picks, and you can get someone a really, really nice for this team. So I think Daryl Morey knows that might have to be an option, and it is with reluctance because, he's a good player to have on this time. He's got that veteran experience. He's pretty solid at defending. Admittedly, when he's defending in the pick and roll, he's not good at all. But on ball especially, he's really good at defending. And I saw it against LeBron James. I saw a couple stints he did last night against Carmelo when he's got them on an island. He's pretty solid at what he does. But it's just, it's just so tradable, and we need to make some sort of move eventually. So unfortunately, we might have to bite the bullet on that one. And I hope, if when free agency comes, he will become a free agent. If we can then, if he still wants to, if he wants to come back, even after we trade him, or even if we don't trade him, if he wants to come back on a lessened deal of like a a 2 million 5 a 2-year 5 million a year 5 million contract, then you're like, yeah, come on board. That will be a good player to have on this team. But unfortunately, right now it's something that he's improving on. And I'm not just taking this from the Portland game. It's just glaringly obvious. But yeah, Portland started off unbelievably hot. They were killing us in that opening quarter. But the thing is, we also retaliated. We scored 36 in that first, but they scored 37. Simmons was aggressive throughout, as I alluded to before. Embiid was his usual great self. He was hitting some obnoxious shots, fade away, mid-ranges, Jordan-esque. And I'm not saying that with hyperbole. It was Jordan-esque with how he was conducting himself. It was like a Tim Duncan, Michael Jordan hybrid with some of the shots. Look, he was against Enes Kanter, but still it was so fun to watch. And he was fantastic. And the thing is, you still feel like he could have offered a bit more. That's how good he's been. But he was really good last night. Simmons had one of the best blocks I've seen this season. It looked for all the world that they were going to throw it down on an alley-oop, I believe, and he somehow managed to get back and hit off the backboard. And it's on my Twitter somewhere. Obviously, you guys know I tweet a hell of a lot during the game, but if you just find your way through it, I did retweet it. It's fantastic. I would implore anyone to check this out, and I implore anyone to watch this game. This was a fantastic game of basketball. Look, like I said, we lost. I'm disappointed, but from a neutral perspective, it just had everything. Defensive excellence, it had offensive excellence in terms of guard play, i.e. Lillard, and indeed in terms of big man play, i.e. Embiid. It had Carmelo Anthony, who's a bit of a fan favourite, going off again. Everyone loves that nostalgia, and it just did have everything. 3-point shooting, obviously a facet of today's game, and a nice bit of mid-range from Embiid. It just covered all bases for all basketball lovers, I think. So this is a real good game. But yeah, so the second quarter we managed to get out in the lead a bit, and that was primarily because of Embiid, and that was primarily because he drew the fouls. That we were in the bonus early, so we got to go to the line. We got to get these easy points, free throws. Furkan Korkmaz had another fun dunk. I couldn't believe it when I saw he was the Turkish League. He won the Turkish League dunk contest, and you kind of seeing it. And he's going to had a couple dunks in recent games, and he's looking pretty solid. Embiid had 15 points in that second quarter. It's just his usual stuff. I don't need to elaborate too much. You know exactly what he was doing. He was going to work on Kanter, be that from the mid-range, be that from the post. He was getting position in the post. He was doing everything fantastically well. And we were up at the half, and it looked, 63-60. It always looked it was going to be a tight one. It always was going to go down to the last play, and it did. And look, we know how it ended up. But, we'll just talk you back through that second half, and I will finish on how that last few minutes went. So, third quarter, Embiid continues at it. He had a corner three, because that's just what he does, I guess. Simmons stayed aggressive, crucially. Like I said, his best game I've seen in a Sixers jersey, to be honest. The double team, Embiid passing out the double team, not an issue again, and it was very simple. It's a very simple play. As Embiid gets doubled, you swing it back round to Curry or Green in the corner, and they'll drain it. It's an easy play, but it's an effective one. More of the same. Look, he had a few sloppy turnovers, Embiid, but the fact is his passing game has been refined and it has improved, and so you can't complain one bit, really. Howard, Dwight, oh goodness me. I literally wrote this down. I'd write in my notes, and he had a really nice few minutes, a few offensive boards counteracting that of Kanter, which was always nice because we really struggled against Kanter, at least on the offensive glass. And he got a few nice rebounds, go to the free throw line, and then he gives away a needless foul, and then they go to the free throw line. It's just so Dwight. He does something good and then just something moronic and stupid. And just someone of that experience is just it's perplexing how he doesn't seem to understand you got to reel it in a bit. I know back in your day you can get physical, you can push people over and all that. You can't do that anymore. You just got to be clever and poised about your play. And look, he is the best backup we've had to Joel Embiid for ever, really. But he's not good enough to be the backup to Joel Embiid. I'm concluding, to be honest. We need someone better to back up Joel, preferably someone that can shoot the three a bit better as well. I like Dwight on this team, and I like him on this roster because I think he's a good glue guy to have. But we're going to have to get someone just a bit better than him, because he's let the team down, not dramatically, but just on little occasions, because essentially his job is, let's not be awful whilst Joel is sitting. If we're not awful while Joel is sitting, if we maintain our lead or even extend it, 9 times out of 10 we win. But the lead keeps coming back and back and back, so we need to find a way of ensuring that doesn't happen when another 5 is on the floor, i.e. Dwight. Fourth quarter comes, Tyrese had a nice early play, and in comes Carmelo Anthony. He hit 3 threes, then he hit a couple mid-rangers, as he so often does. It was vintage Melo, 17 points, and that was the crucial. That's what won them the game. It wasn't Damian Lillard. It wasn't even Gary Trent. It was Carmelo Anthony. Yeah, what can you do? What can you do? Embiid and Simmons dealt with Lillard fantastically well. Lillard, to try and shake off Simmons, tries to go to the pick and roll. Embiid steps up, embraces the double, not afraid to get his hands in the cookie jar. I remember he was 35 meters out or so and managed to get a swipe on Dame and got the ball out and just ran down the clock a bit more. It was really refreshing to see, and Dame really struggled. And that is no mean feat to make Damian Lillard, of all people, struggle. He normally he's probably the best clutch shooter, I think, so far this season, statistically speaking, of course. And we made him look rather average in the clutch. And I know people will say, well, you lost, but this is what happened. We lost because Melo was amazing, and sometimes you've got to hold your hands up and say, well, that's basketball. There's not an awful lot more we could have done. So Melo gave Tobias Harris a torrid time, and I was a bit disappointed in Tobias. Like, he had 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, which isn't a bad stat line by any means. It was just a bit, I think, when Melo was doing all this work on him, and I know how much Tobias has improved defensively this season, I would have hoped that he responds and gets aggressive, and he's like, nah, you're not doing this, this isn't happening anymore. I'm not letting this happen. So I think perhaps he's got a bit passive, or I don't know if his confidence took a hit. But, when people say, oh, it's the old Tobias again. The old Tobias doesn't play badly and get 17, 6, and 5. It's just one of those days. It happens. Refs had a few questionable calls. Embiid seems to have 2 clean blocks. One of them was given as a foul. Blazers get 2 points from the free throw line. Seth Curry at the death, what seemed at the death, hit a 3, and it looked for all the way we're going to overtime. Again, Blazers managed to get to the free throw line via Dame, and then it was Gary Trent. Sorry, not Dame. Well, sorry, I'm tired still. It's for long night. 3 a.m. tip off, so not the one. And then we have the final play, which was disappointing. We inbound it. Like I said, we needed any sort of bucket to tie and a 3 to win. We inbound it, we don't even get our hands on it, and we didn't even get a shot up. And this was poorly drawn up. Tobias did look like he was slightly fouled on the inbound, but I even think if he wasn't fouled, then the same sort of end result happens. So I'm not going to get too aggrieved about that. But that's just what happens. And I know, again, people like to overreact. Oh, Sixers in the late game, they can't draw up plays, they can't, find ways to win. Need I remind you about the Lakers game? It was drawn up perfectly. Tobias gets the ball, gets the screen to get Caruso, and gets him over the mid-range, and because of his height advantage, because of the said screen that was put at the top of the key, we get the bucket and we get the win. That's just basketball. It's a crazy, crazy game that can turn almost immediately, and the craziest bit of brilliance from anyone can win you a game. And tonight it came from Carmelo Anthony. It's as simple as that. We play Phoenix tomorrow, which promises to be another fun game, I'm sure. This West Coast trip has been fun. I know it's only 1 win and 1 loss, but it has been fun thus far. I think we've seen some really good basketball in both games, and I don't think the Phoenix game will be any different. I think it'll be a really good test yet again, and let's just hope we can get over the line in a similar fashion to how we did in the Kings rather than how we did against the Blazers. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll see you for the Phoenix game tomorrow, 8 p.m. tip-off, which is a lot nicer than it has been for the 3 a.m. ones, but I'll see you all later, guys.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.